So, do you remember how it all started, Nigel?
I do. It started in Martin Hunter's office back in, I guess, about 1993, when I was given a copy of the Redfern and Hunter book and told to read it over the weekend, because on the Monday I had to catch a flight to Miami to go interview witnesses. I didn't think that Miami was any part of English litigation, so this sounded pretty exciting for a young associate. And so I did read the book, and I thought, this is really what I want to do. This involves every aspect of fighting a case, up to and including speaking and presenting it at the final hearing. I thought, this is it. So tell me more. And I was introduced to the other partners in the group and Alan, and away it went. But that was the first thing I did, was read Redfern and Hunter to understand what this was all about.
And then about 10 years later, fast forward to Paris, that evening in the 7th arrondissement, we were invited to dinner by Alan and Martin. No agenda cited. I thought it was just a general catch-up. And I think it was during the first course they said, without any introduction, that they wanted us to partner with them on the book.
Which caused a great deal of indigestion for the rest of the meal, but nevertheless excitement that we would be part of what had essentially been the Bible for us growing up and when we were working together on cases.
A huge privilege, but also quite intimidating. I remember that feeling of vertigo as I sat for the first time in front of a word version of the Bible with the power to change it, which came with a sense of real responsibility.
Yes, and the way in which Martin and Alan embraced our ability to change it and to add our stamp, not changing the underlying nature of the book, and obviously subject to their firm red pen, which was quite copious in the early editions, I recall.
And welcome, because one thing they haven't done is in any way let go of a book that was theirs. They've welcomed us into the fold. They've encouraged our improvements, as they would put it, to their book. They have encouraged us to think afresh about what deserves to be in the book and what doesn't anymore. But they've stayed as involved as we've wanted them to be.
Yeah, heavily involved, and that's been great, and it's been great to continue that, and they're as active now as they always have been. And I think they've been a great inspiration to us in coming up with this new edition and thinking about how we wanted to approach the new points for the book, to make it fresh, to make this a real new edition. What do you think, for the readers, Constantine, will most mark the review of this new edition?
Well, I think the first thing I'd say is that the difference between the 5th edition and this edition is more marked than the difference between the 4th edition and the 5th edition. And one of the reasons is the amount of evolution in our field that has taken place since 2009. And actually, as a consequence of that, we delayed publication by a year just to make sure that we captured, accommodated and synthesized all the major rule changes, including the most recent ones by the LCA and the IBA rules and guidelines. And in the process, we've hopefully made the book even more international than it originally was. This is not a book that was aimed at or produced in the major arbitration jurisdictions. We hope it is now as current and as relevant in Brazil as it would be in London, Paris, or New York.
Yeah, and that's been fun. I mean, really just digging deep into all of the different sources and seeing how the different jurisdictions are moving towards common answers, whether you're in Singapore or India or Ecuador. I think this is really showing how truly international this field has become, but not expecting it to be dominated just by the big players, and seeing how these jurisdictions have come forward. So it's been great, and I hope that the readers will see that and appreciate it and continue to use it as they have done as a major reference work, but also as a book that you can actually just read from cover to cover if you want to understand what the arbitral process is.
And you remember that the one promise that Alan and Martin asked us to make at that dinner in Paris, and that their one-volume book would remain a one-volume book. So far, we've remained true to that
So
promise.
far we have. We had to cut a lot of stuff, but we put a lot of new stuff in, but we will remain true to that, and I think that is part of what this book is, and so we must remain true to that.